Let's get straight to the agenda because it does belong to Lance Franklin. How many nights have there been in Sydney in the past decade where all eyes have centred on Buddy, where all of the occasion has revolved around him? Now Jordan Lewis sets us up for game 350.
He's our Michael Jordan.
This is Buddy Franklin!
Muhammad Ali.
This is the greatest showman!
Kathy Freeman. He's Dunstall, Ablett and Dacos combined.
What a superstar of the game!
My first memory was just this really raw kid.
Lance Franklin has kicked his first goal of AFL football.
He was really shy.
Memorable moment for the 18-year-old on a big stage at the MCG.
I remember when we got our first paycheck, it was like Christmas to the both of us, so we walked down Glenferrie Road. He got his hair straightened. I went and bought a mobile phone and some jeans, and our whole pay packet was blown in about an hour. He was just an 18-year-old kid like Ruffy and I, coming to a city where there was a lot more people, a lot more to do. There's always one game or one moment that sticks out and lets everybody know that this player has arrived or has got what it takes. When you speak about Bud, I think I always go back to the elimination final in 2007.
Lance Franklin's kick four. Thumping kick, don't tell me!
He was influential throughout the game, but it was the last goal that he kicked with about a minute and a half to go.
This to put the Hawks in front in the elimination final. Lance Franklin,
And I still to this day have never heard a crowd as loud as they were after that goal. That for me was the moment where he really announced himself as a superstar of the competition.
You can't wear number 23 at Hawthorn and not be a showman.
He just had a skill set that not many players possess, especially at the size that he is.
Up towards the wing. Buddy Franklin goes back.
You would always hold your breath and not necessarily know what was coming next.
Man running back towards the goal square. Needs to be closer. He can't bounce it. Who he kicks it who on the ball.
When he jumped Sam Dwyer in the middle of the MCG,
Franklin with a hurdle.
that's instinct.
This will be something. It is. It's an MCG special.
When he kicks those goals from the boundary line, that's instinct.
Caught by Tippett as Buddy Franklin dribbles it through off the deck.
Franklin, can he improvise? Oh, my word!
Sensational goal from their king. Buddy from long range. Boom!
It was probably the hardest task in football for 10 years to match up on Bud.
This will be interesting. Lakin Franklin. Oh, gee, he's so good, isn't he? That is a miracle goal. He's extraordinary.
2 years ago, a friend of mine.
1,000 goals.
The legend becomes immortal. 1,000 goals from a modern forward. Look at these scenes.
Now 350 games. All Australian 8 times. 8.
This is Buddy Franklin!
2 flags. 4 Colemans.
Lance Franklin joins the 100 club.
Leading goal scorer 13 times.
13!
13!
Can you believe it?
19 years he's played.
Generation Next on display for Hawthorn right
19 years at the top of his game.
Comes Buddy, wheels around, gathers the football. He's kicked a miracle. He's put it
A superstar.
This is the greatest showman!
Like most of you out there, I'm a fan.
To Buddy, the pendulum on the ground. Unbelievable.
Enjoy every bit of Buddy while we've got him.
This is Buddy Franklin!
what a collection of iconic moments there. Tomorrow night at the SCG, we'll see it right here on Fox Footy when the Swans and the Saints meet. Jordan Lewis, I imagine that's like being back at school and the assignment is just write an essay on your best buddy.
I've got to be honest, Jared, I don't necessarily like listening to my own voice, so that was a little bit tough, but that's what happens when the man himself doesn't really speak. You've got to get someone else to speak for him. So it was. I mean, you know, in time we'll be able to sit down with our kids and show highlights of Buddy and a lot of the other players that I played with, but mainly Buddy, and just understand and appreciate how good this player has been. And I think every player that's played at the highest level is lucky to play with someone.
Yep.
And for me, I've been really fortunate to play with Lance Franklin. He's the best player that I've ever played with, the best player that I've ever seen up close. And it was one of those things that, you know, he was a potential #1 draft pick, fell down a little bit because maybe he was a little bit unprofessional, but he was just raw. No kid knows how to become a professional athlete before 17 or 18. So Hawthorn took a chance. And what a selection it was.
You'd have hundreds of little stories like Glenferrie Road hair straightening, that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah. There's I actually called Ruffy today to try and... Which ones can we say and which ones can't we say? But, I mean, we mentioned in that how raw he was. And when we first got drafted, we go to the club. And at the time, it was Peter Burge was our weights coach. And we had to do some testing. And Bud couldn't do 3 push-ups. He did 2 push-ups and then had to drop down to his knees to do the third one. So that gives you a bit of an idea on the size and strength of him at that time. Another one, we went to Kokoda, and Kokoda, on day 1, they give you the ration pack for the whole day. And after 3 or 4 hours of walking, Bud was really hungry, so he ate the entire ration pack in the first breakfast meal, so everyone had to sort of supply him a bit of food throughout the day, as well as putting rocks in his bag, and he didn't necessarily realise. But yeah, it's when you... I mean, this is what's great when you retire. So when he retires, you're able to recall a lot of those stories. Some you've forgotten about, some remain really vivid in your head. But, I mean, I don't know what you think. Being able to call him, I would imagine that would have been a great joy.
Yeah, so he's one of those rare players in the history of the game that the action revolves around him. So as soon as the ball was in his vicinity, and this is true for caller and for fan alike, your eye is instantly drawn to him. So he's the most magnetic figure I've seen since Gary Ablett Senior, and they have very similar qualities as the game was unfolding. But you had to be... And Hutto's been the master of it, hasn't he? Is you had to be on alert for the high note whenever Franklin was around. He might be hurdling, he might be on those bouncing runs, he might be kicking it from the boundary, and chances are he was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel like it is one of those great stories we have all recognised it in real time. So in 15, 20 years' time, when he goes in as a legend into the Hall of Fame, we'll all know we lived that and we knew that it was building to that occasion. So I think we would all take pause to feel like we're extremely privileged.
Yeah, and I think, you know, people who don't know him or have never seen him train would say, oh, he's a highly talented player that's just got through on talent. He would have been in the top 3 to 4 trainers at Hawthorn in that period of dominance. He loved training, he loved to compete, and there's no doubt that the defenders who had to play on him were better for it. There's no doubt that the forwards were around him were better for it. There's no doubt that he made midfielders better than they probably were because of the competitive nature that he wanted to play.
Are you there tomorrow night?
Yeah, we'll be there. So Ruffy and I fly up tomorrow morning.
Are you tipping your hand as to...
I can't say anything, Jerry.
OK, we'll keep an eye out for you. All right, the game itself has got plenty in it as well, the Swans and the Saints. So this is how selection landed tonight. Dane Rampy is back for the Swans, so they've been very makeshift, haven't they, in defence for a period of time, and Sheldrick comes in as well. Parker's suspended, McAndrew's been omitted, and Corey Wagner is the sub. While on the St Kilda side of things, Owens is back, which is great. That nasty concussion that he suffered, I think we all wondered how long that might be. And Windhager is in. Clark is injured, Patton's been omitted, and Sharman was the sub. So there's plenty in it on all fronts. I know so much of it is geared around Sydney, but if we took St Kilda for a moment, is there just a few stutters on the way to the bye? So what are they going to be in the back half of the season?
Yeah, a little bit inconsistent, you're right, Jerry. Win-loss, win-loss the last 4 games. So I think the older coaches, you know, whether it be John Longmire or Ross Lyon, this is when they really come into their own and motivate the group. And I think Ross has already been on record to say that we're going out there to crash the party. So they have the ability to galvanise a group. St Kilda will be fresh off a bye. They'll be ready to go, ready to get back into it. And you know, you've got the utmost respect for Buddy and what he's been able to do, but that doesn't come into question when you're the opposition going up to Sydney and playing against the Sydney Swans to get your season back on track.
Righto. Great recollections. Thanks for sharing them with us.